action fanatics, welcome to another edition of the Bulletproof podcast. I'm your host, Chris the Brain, and joining me, as always, my co-host, Chad Cruz. And Chad, we can officially say we have hundreds of subscribers now.
Wow. There are hundreds of intelligent people out there who listen to podcasts, who listen to our podcast. And you know what? I just can't wait till we can officially say we have billions.
That would be nice. I think maybe we should shoot for thousands first, though, and work our way up.
Aim high, brain.
All right, but we do want to thank everybody who has subscribed to us. And if you haven't, do it. Join everybody else. Get in on this, on the ground floor of this Bulletproof podcast. And we also want to thank Ryan Campbell, who's in the guest spot, because Ryan Campbell certainly helped us get this show off the ground and keep it afloat for 37 episodes now, Ryan.
Oh, well, I'm glad to be here and having conversations that we usually just have to ourselves on the interwebs.
Right. Yeah, we're not just screaming into a void. We are actually speaking to people out there, fellow action fanatics, and that's a great thing. And as always, we want to encourage you to not only listen to the podcast, but check out the website. It's bulletproofaction.com, and a lot going on over there, Ryan. And you've just started your coverage of a new series, a new Marvel series on Disney Plus.
Yes, episode 2 drops tomorrow. Episode 1 was a little depressing. We learned that superheroes have some PTSD and also some money problems. So it was an interesting look into the MCU.
Very much different than WandaVision, which you obviously covered for us as well, because you are kind of our go-to Marvel guy at Bulletproof Action.
If it's new and somewhat more outside of the realm of niche action, it seems to be my lane.
It certainly is. And coming up in April, we've got some things going on too, Chad Cruz. Mortal Kombat. I'm very excited about that one.
Awesome trailer.
So I've heard from just about everybody on the staff.
Yeah. I haven't been here since it came out, so there you go.
That's one of the few movies that's coming out that everyone is kind of clamoring to review for the site. So it doesn't often happen. So it's probably a big change for you.
Yeah, it is. And another thing that's coming, the return of the movie Kumite in April. I've got something cooked up.
People have been begging for that.
Nobody has, but I'm very excited about it because
literally tens of people.
I'm excited about it, so I'm going to do it, and that's kind of the benefit I have. But something coming up coming up tomorrow when people are listening to this, Chad Cruz, a brand new movie. It's Die Hard at a VA hospital. It's Assault on VA 33, and what a cast that has been assembled for this one.
Absolutely, Assault on VA 33, or as I like to call it, Assault on
No, you don't. Don't.
But yeah, Sean Patrick Flannery, Michael Jai White, Mark Dacascos, Weston Kidge Coppola. I just watched the Sean Patrick Flannery film Born a Champion recently, and I loved it. It was awesome. So I'm pretty excited to jump back into another one of his new films. And like you said, Die Hard in a VA hospital. I mean, these movies were a staple of the late 80s, 90s, 2000s, basically up until like maybe the last 10 years or so. So I'm excited to see them come back to the direct-to-streaming, direct-to-video genre.
Yeah, I mean, last year we had the second with Ryan Philippe, and that was Die Hard in a dormitory. So, and that was an excellent film. That was one of my favorite movies that I reviewed last year. I've got high hopes for Assault on VA 33 and for the Mortal Kombat reboot, and a lot coming up here on bulletproofaction.com. So again, check it out. And we also, you never know what you're going to get from day to day.
We don't know. So yeah, it's definitely exciting.
Exactly. All right, guys, this is the third in this trilogy of podcasts that we have dubbed the March to WrestleMania. We've already talked about Roddy Piper and Hell Comes to Frogtown. Last time out, it was the Ultimate Warrior in his one and only movie appearance in Firepower. Today, we are going to talk about John Cena in his motion picture debut, The Marine, which was released on October 13th, 2006. This, of course, a WWE film, Chad.
Was this their first like official film?
I think it might have been, and I'm not sure.
I think they had partnered in a few other ones, but this was like the first of like WWE Studios.
Yeah, I think this was right when they kind of made that leap into, okay, we're going to fully fund one, and it's going to star one of our guys, and see what happens, see if we can make a bunch of money and become like our own film studio as well. But yeah, this movie, I mean, I remember when it came out. I'm sure you do too, Brain and Ryan. Um, it, I don't remember having high expectations for it. I was not the biggest John Cena fan back in 2006, but
So
I think
unique.
that, yes, thank you. But I think having rewatched it recently, I may have to eat a little crow.
Oh,
Well, I think it's important to remember where John Cena was in 2006 as a character. I mean, that was kind of an out of the blue casting. You're like, really? The dude that like the white guy that raps? Like
The
he was
rapper
still,
guy.
yeah, this is before he had he did like a little bit of a gimmick change when the movie came out and started wearing camo shorts and doing the salute thing. But like prior to that, it was a very different character. So it you had fair ground to stand
Okay.
on to assume
I
it was
think
going to be pretty bad.
Vince saw the haircut and was like, okay, we don't have to pay for a haircut.
yes.
The
He's got
body
Vince,
that.
helped too.
Vince is a very
Yes.
frugal man. Never spends any money.
It's true.
Does anybody remember how they excused John Cena from WWE programming to get him to film this movie? What the on-air storyline
Oh man.
was?
I do, but only because I read about it afterwards.
Okay.
So I don't want to steal your thunder here.
Well, I know if you know, I just was, it was John Cena. The storyline was that John Cena was attacked by Carlito and Jesus, his bodyguard. It was actually stabbed in a Boston nightclub. And
And I don't remember it happening, but I, read that bit of trivia somewhere when I was doing some
yeah,
research on the Marine, and I was like, wow, I don't remember that at all, but that sounds
yeah. I
perfect.
don't. They didn't actually show it. It wasn't like it was
Yeah.
a vignette where he was out partying and they showed up. It was just kind of spoke about, and that
The
was it.
early days of WWE films where they had to like they tried to be kind of coy about the people that were off filming movies, and now they're just like,
Right.
yeah, they're gonna go film a movie.
Now
Right.
every day they talk about it.
Right.
They should
Yeah.
have had him stabbed by Carlito's friend, Robert Patrick.
Oh, well, yeah, that would have
Yes.
been a nice tie-in for what we're about to get into. So yeah, let's get into it. October 13th, 2006, the Marine hit. At this point, though, John Cena was a WWE champion. So now it kind of made more sense. But when you first heard about like Cena's getting this movie, it's like, why? And we'll get into that in a little bit here too. But Chad Cruz, they debuted John Triton, who is John Cena's character. Give him the same first name, which is always important, I think,
Yep.
for a first movie. He knows when to answer. But but really, I mean, John Triton is basically doing his best John Rambo at the beginning of this movie, Chad.
Oh yeah, and it's a great name, great start. John Triton is a perfect name for an action star, and like you said, he bursts through this Al Qaeda compound, uh, all decked out in black, and I don't know which segment, what group of the Marines wear black, but he's in all black, and
You can't see them,
he's
Marines.
all by himself, and he's rescuing these POWs in in an amazing way, because not only is he doing it by himself, but he's doing it against orders.
Right. They said, hold on, we've got
Yeah.
more guys coming, but he did not want to wait. He saw what was about to go down, and those Marines may not have been alive by the time everybody else showed up.
Amen.
That's right, made a
But
judgment call.
he made it, and he paid for it because since he disobeyed a direct order, he's discharged. And that brings us to an interesting little point, because rumor had it that Randy Orton was actually slated for this movie.
Which probably would have made more sense at the time.
But Randy Orton legitimately was discharged from the Marines after he went AWOL. So they thought maybe that would be maybe not the best look.
Yeah, I thought the whole story behind the whole Randy Orton AWOL was there was like some hazing, and he ratted on some people, and then he feared for his life, so he went AWOL.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, that could be.
That could
And
be. I don't know.
also recently I watched The Condemned, and did the 10 Things You Didn't Know. If you want to check that out on bulletproofaction.com, that's the Stone Cold movie. Stone Cold mentioned he was supposed to be involved in this movie at one point, but he turned it down and kind of regretted it looking back at after, I think, probably like, why would I be in a movie with this guy?
Right.
Just John Cena. Now, in the grand scheme of things, well, that would have made sense, but
Oh yeah, can you imagine if a movie came out now with John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin?
you would have a commercial every 5 seconds on Raw. So yeah.
But also props to the movie for actually there being ramifications for disobeying an order. How many times in movies has that happened? They're like, I don't like it, but you got moxie or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like,
No,
nope,
that's-
yeah, you disobeyed an order. Here's your papers.
If he had been a police officer, they would have yelled at him and he would have been okay. But military, they didn't mess around with that kind of stuff.
Right. We had a lot of that in our last episode, Firepower, where the police captain kept yelling at our two heroes, but they still did whatever they wanted. All right. So John Trenton's going home. And you don't really feel too bad for him for long because he's reunited with his hot wife, Kate, and Chad Cruz. He's home for about 32 seconds and it's afternoon delight time.
Yeah, 32 seconds. And then 32 seconds after that, it's nap time, I think, for him.
But hey, she made him happy.
Yeah, what a guy. I mean, what a life, right? So he comes home to Kelly Carlson, an incredibly attractive woman.
Who is pretty much telling him that let's just go away on a trip and
Yes.
have sex for like 2 weeks straight. And he's like, I want to go to work.
And she's just like sitting there waiting for him, like what a good wife, But yeah, like you said, they catch up on some old times.
They certainly do. And while that's going on, we now get to meet our villains. In particular, the main villain, Rome, who is played by Robert Patrick. An excellent choice for a villain, quite obviously. And he's entering an upscale jewelry store, and he's already got people inside. This is a very complex plan that they've hatched here. And I would think you would need such a plan, Ryan Campbell, if you're going to try to steal $12 million in diamonds.
And that's what I love about it. And just watching the movie, I'm like, man, I mean, it's still 2006, but they went to like a very tried and true, yes, the bad guy is going to steal diamonds. Like, it's the last time in a movie that revolved around a diamond heist. But yep, Robert Patrick, a unique take on the role. He's oddly very comedic in the movie. Yeah. I don't know if he's trying to do his best Joker impersonation or what, but like, or just didn't want to be typecasted as the stone-faced T-1000, but an odd take. I thought it for the role, and maybe like a little too hammy for me, but a great casting choice.
Yeah, that's the one thing rewatching, because I watched it when it initially came out on DVD, I believe, and then I've watched it now for this podcast. I forgot, Chad, how goofy these villains act at times.
Yeah, and every single one of them has their own little thing. And like you said, Rome, he hams it up. Like he's always kind of telling these jokes, and they're not very menacing. They're not threatening. Even when they shoot people, I'm like, ha, ha, ha. Like, he said something funny before he did it. You know what I mean? Or right after. It's just that it didn't work for me then, and it's one of the few things that I still couldn't stand upon rewatching. But we'll get to the other ones later, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean the score doesn't really do them any favors either. It's a really mixed bag, and there's some like almost carnival-esque music a few times, like
it's
in
like
the background.
A sitcom. It's
yeah,
like
really weird.
Like,
and then we get like some weird porn music every once in a while that like bleeds over into cuts and stuff. It doesn't help that once the action picks up, like in the final act, the music's really epic. But some of these early scenes with the villains, I thought just an odd choice of the score in some of those scenes just to set them up as a big threat.
And you almost wonder, did they do, because this one had a PG-13 rating, so are these bad guys being kind of comedic to get that, so they're not so evil, and they could get a greater audience into the theater, because obviously WWE has and always will appeal to a younger audience. And
it's possible they may not have known what they were going to get out of John Cena at this point. Like, he plays it super serious, straight-faced, like action hero. And I mean, maybe they didn't kind of know what to expect from John, so they thought the villains should ham it up a little bit to make him look like more of a badass. I don't really know, because they couldn't have looked in the future to see what John Cena was going to become, obviously. But I don't know, maybe that was part of it too. But it's just weird that John plays it so straight, and then these guys are goofballs. But
One of my biggest problems is we'll see John Triton is never like scared of these guys. There's not one of them that really could kick his ass. And he just like 3 days before this whole incident happens, fought the Al Qaeda.
Right.
So
Well, that could explain why he's not scared. I mean, he was
yeah, but I'm just saying, like
right.
he went from fighting against Al Qaeda, like one against how many ever they had, to now he's got this villain who's like making jokes and might as well be dancing.
I think he played it well. I mean, I think John played the character like how you would expect in an action movie to play it, whether it be his best John Rambo impersonation or not. It just didn't gel right with the way they depicted the villains. But if I had to choose which one I thought played it right, it was John.
So the bad guys get the diamonds, and it's getaway time, and we get our first big explosion as some white zombie is playing. Malcolm just shoots a rocket at a police car, and it just goes airborne and blows up. And it's pretty spectacular. I mean, there's one thing you can say for sure is the Marine is a 100% action movie.
Oh yeah, they were successful in that.
And at about this time, we get Rome on the telephone talking to a mysterious business partner who's involved. Kind of could have been the guy who potentially gave the insider information that, because these diamonds, this $12 million in diamonds just arrived like a couple days before the heist. So there's something going on behind the scenes there. But now let's go back to John Triton, who, as Ryan pointed out, instead of going away with his wife to bump uglies for hours upon hours and days upon days, he wants to get to work. He's not a type of guy who could just sit around. So he gets a job as a security guard. And Chad, it is his first and last day on this job.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for the guy, right? You know what? He's a war hero. He's got this incredibly hot wife who just wants to take off with him and take care of him. And yet he takes this terrible job, working the most boring security guard position ever. And within a couple hours of being there,
Yeah.
he has the psycho ex-boyfriend or whatever of some woman that works upstairs show up and starts berating people. And little John Triton just not going to take that, that behavior towards women, especially, I think. So yeah, he throws the guy through a window, and I don't know if he gets his paycheck for that day, but it's probably not going to be very much.
No, just a few hours. And he did make the news, so that's always fun, I suppose. So when he gets home, then he agrees with his wife. Yeah, maybe we need some time. So they decide to go off to the mountains. And again, we get an interesting soundtrack choice. Very different than White Zombie. We get Lil Flip and Leah with Sunshine as they're driving up to the mountains. But you know what? What's a trip without a stop for some snacks, Ryan Campbell?
Absolutely. Starburst minis are one of my go-to in snack driving car. And Slim Jims are good. Slim Jims are great as well.
Snap into it.
That's right.
Ooh, yeah, I'm a hot tamale guy.
But yeah, as luck would have it, and this is how we end up with movies, because things like this happen in movie universes. John runs directly into Rome and his crew.
Yeah, they're there filling up at the gas station. But the thing that really kind of sets this whole thing off, Chad, is the highway patrol shows up. And Malcolm, who we learn has some things. He doesn't like cops, which we're going to find out in a very extreme way. Well, he's already blown up a cop car. He doesn't like rock candy, and he doesn't like minivans. So Rome is pumping gas. One of the highway patrol guys is just, BSing with him. A little small talk. And Malcolm just kills him.
Yeah,
it's extreme.
Maybe not the best decision maker on the crew. The highway patrolman was a little too curious, I would say.
Yeah.
He sees the bumper sticker on the back of Rome's vehicle and starts asking questions about it. And it felt like Rome was kind of on top of that. He had the right answers to get away with it. But yeah, Malcolm's a little on edge. And the bad thing is he's bringing up all these things that he doesn't like, and I can play that game too. I don't like the music, I don't like the villains, and I definitely don't like John Cena's pants in this movie.
Very good.
He's got pockets for days. Got some cargos.
Probably got those at Old Navy.
Baggy jeans, not good look.
At least he's not riding a purple cow around.
What?
True.
He's the spokesman for whatever that mortgage thing or
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
now. Where he rides a
yeah.
purple cow around.
That's got a big fat check attached to it,
Yeah.
though.
So while John's inside getting all these snacks and whatnot, and he hears the shots, but that's all he needs. He immediately springs into action. But there's Bennett, and I want to talk about this right now. How many action movies, have a character named Bennett in it?
Yeah, that's a popular bad guy name.
What's a
and-
good guy named too in Death Wish 3?
I suppose, yeah. We got and we got a little Bennett in this one is a little Frank Grillo, Kirkland's brand.
Manu Bennett, I believe, plays that character.
You are correct, and I believe he's in The Condemned with Stone Cold.
And he was my favorite villain. He's my favorite villain because he's the only one who isn't a complete idiot.
Yeah,
And he doesn't just randomly do things to make the plot worsen. He seems to be actually good at crime.
Yeah,
Right.
he's got a bright future.
Bright future
yeah,
in crime.
he's a legit villain. The other thing I wanted to point out here was the fire extinguisher, because that knocks Triton the F out and made me think of how many times in wrestling has a fire extinguisher come into play, and instead of using it the way that Bennett does, like use the tank, the hard part, they just do the cheap effect of actually
Blowing the load on him. Yeah.
blowing the load on him. Thank you very much.
Because listen, Brain, if you knock the guy out, what good is that? He's knocked down on the outside. It's going to be a count out. Maybe you can pick him up and roll him in to cover him.
Right.
But if you blind him, then you can get him back in the ring easier. You pin him, you win. There you go.
Maybe I've been listening to too much Jim Cornette. I don't know.
You give him a back rake, a good back rake. Oh,
No, that's not going to do anything good. So during all this chaos now, thanks to Malcolm, Rome does not have his Cadillac anymore. He cannot use that to go anywhere. So he just takes over Triton's Navigator. But
man.
the problem is Kate is still inside the car waiting for her, I don't know, hostess Donetti's. I don't know what she was waiting for, but no, she wanted a Diet Coke, I believe, actually.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
yeah, she's now a hostage. We have a hostage situation, Chad Cruz.
Yeah, I mean, she wanted that hot meat stick too, but Diet Coke is what she's selling for. The biggest problem with that, okay, so we've already seen that Rome is willing to kill people.
Right.
Kate is the worst hostage I've ever seen. They should have shot her like a dozen times throughout this film. And why they don't, I really don't understand.
Yeah, they don't exactly need her.
I know, yeah, they don't need her for any reason.
Rome does kind of think she's attractive and takes a liking to her, so there's possible, he kind of hits on her later and stuff, so maybe that's why, but...
He does it in a weird way, almost as if he's, legitimately trying to get her to be his girlfriend.
Hey, let's take this girl out and you can take her place.
He's shooting a shot. I mean, he's trying.
I mean, you don't get to that position that Rome's in with a lot of people telling you no, so, there's probably a reason that he behaves that way.
So here we go. Explosion number 2. John comes to, thankfully, before this whole gas station just blows up to Kingdom Come. And he comes out there. He sees the one cop is dead already. The other cop is injured. He calls for help for him. Then he jumps in this Highway Patrol Camaro. Is that something? Is that a legitimate thing? Does Highway Patrol have Camaros?
They do. I think doesn't this one say paid for by your local drug dealer or something on it?
I think it did. Yes.
So I think this is when they do a big drug bust, sometimes they'll take the car from somebody.
Yeah, it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
And a lot of times though, it just kind of stays at the precinct and maybe is in parades and stuff. It's rare that they actually it's rare that they actually, take it out and that's just what they patrol in. But some places do have. I've seen the Shelby Mustang that this place has, or this place has a Corvette that they barely use, or stuff like that. It's not unheard of.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And so obviously we get a car chase, a good old fashioned car chase,
Yeah.
with a little road work thrown in, so it's not just a smooth sailing for either our villains or our hero. But man, this car chase, Chad, ends pretty spectacularly.
Yeah, I mean the whole chase is pretty spectacular if you ask me, because it's not only a car chase, it's a pretty good shootout.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if John's not exactly shooting back, but I think he might have gotten a couple shots off at the very beginning. But they unload an unbelievable amount of rounds at his car. It continues to drive, which is surprising, and he doesn't get hit, which is also very surprising because they are unleashing hell on this guy. And as you said at the very end, Rome is kind of smart enough to see the topography as he's driving towards this cliff, and he pulls the old whoopsie, and John goes flying over him, flipping his car, revealing the gas tank, and they blow the shit out of that car.
Yes. Yes, and obviously they think, all right, he's dead. We don't
he
have
did
to
like a
worry.
house.
Yeah.
He did a house show dive out of it.
Yeah. I will certainly give them credit on this one. This is the first of many times they'll assume that he dies. But this one, I can't blame them. If these guys have probably killed a lot of people in their time, and there's no reason not to believe that he is completely dead.
Right. I mean, they should have been surprised he survived the whole gas station thing, because last they saw him, he was laying on the floor, and then the whole place blew up.
Yeah. Now, as the movie goes on, at some point you think they would be like, all right, I need to see a body before I believe that he's dead.
Right. And are we in South Carolina? Is that where we are?
That's where the movie is set, correct.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, I'm like going back to this gas station incident, and I mean, this is the South. I'm pretty surprised. In real life, I'm thinking that gas station attendant comes out with a shotgun and starts lighting people up.
Yeah, maybe that's, they didn't think about that because obviously this was actually shot in Australia. Yes, but yes, the storyline is it's in South Carolina. All right, so here comes an interesting piece of the film that I'm sure Chad Cruz is a big fan of. Mm-hmm. And that is the fact that Kate and Angela, who is the evil lady, the lover of Rome, they don't get along, Chad. And they're teasing real early on with these two that we might be seeing some action between them.
Cat fight.
Scissor fight. Like
Arn Anderson and Sid? Is that what you're
saying? Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay.
Kate and Angela, both attractive women. Kate fights everybody, so that's no surprise. But Angela is usually the one to step up and knock her ass out. So, or Rome. But Kate gets knocked unconscious at least 3 times in this film.
She's feisty.
She probably needed some concussion protocol after this.
Seriously,
those Marine wives are feisty.
Get her in the tent.
So yeah, they definitely tease that, and hope we at this point just hope that it's paid off. So the gas station incident. Now there's a whole manhunt going on for Rome and his crew. But Rome has the bright idea, Chad, that he's going to take the team and they're going to kind of go along this wooded, swampy area. And the trees will give them cover. The boats are going to have trouble getting to them because of, the swamp is the swamp. So it's I guess a pretty good plan as they're trying to meet up with this mysterious business partner. What do you think about the plan, Chad?
Well, the more you think about it, the worse the plan gets. But, on the surface, I think it's okay. I mean, a lot of these departments have dogs, and they would just probably sniff them out in like an hour. But, because they're moving so slow. But I'll accept it. It's plausible, I guess, that they could get away in the swamp. But it's better than them, like, hijacking another car and just driving longer.
I mean, if their business partner was Zartan, it would have been a brilliant plan.
There we go. I do wonder, I mean, I've been to Myrtle Beach and maybe some of the more mountainous areas of South Carolina. I didn't know it was known for its bayou.
There are swamps. I did do a little Googling on that.
Okay,
there are some swampy areas of South Carolina. But yeah, it's certainly not, Louisiana levels.
Got some Bray Wyatt down there.
A little avenging force action is what I was thinking about.
Little pentangle hunt.
Mm-hmm. So here's a big spoiler for everybody listening, and if
Oh,
you
boy.
don't want to hear this, you could turn it off right now.
No, don't turn it off, please.
Don't. John Triton is alive.
What?
And the first person to find this out is Detective Van Buren, who is the cop hot on the trail of Rome. And Van Buren, instead of taking in Triton or questioning, he kind of like, all right, well, look out for this Rome guy. That kind of raises an eyebrow right there, I would think.
Yeah, that's some questionable decision making. I think he may have some sort of ulterior motives.
I think you may be correct, Ryan Campbell.
Another little trivia before you keep going is Detective Van Buren, the great, 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 great grandson of former President Martin Van Buren, the 8th president of the United States.
Was he ever in the gang, the Van Buren boys? Because I think George Costanza was.
I don't think so.
Okay. So once again, we hear Rome on the phone with this mysterious partner, and he decides he's just going to cut him out of the deal. Like, why split it? I can have it all.
Because he doesn't have enough heat on him at this point,
Right. Just to establish that he is a horrible human being like this. And this is also, I think, about the time where we get the scene you were talking about earlier, Ryan, where he's just, trying to woo Kate, even though Angela's like right there, isn't she?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's just macking on her right there in front of Angela. I mean,
unless he was trying for the elusive three-way. I don't know. What was he? Was that? You think that was his move, Chad?
I think so. I think Robert Patrick doesn't think in terms of 2. I think he thinks in terms of 3s. And his plan all along was to bring Kate along. He witnessed her potential there at the gas station. He thought to himself, this could be an easy little 3-way here. And for an hour, 2 hours, he got her into the swamp, got her nice and sweaty.
Yeah.
And then he went for his plan. And unfortunately for him, the plan didn't work.
I mean, to be fair, he did have $12 million worth of diamonds. That had to kind of tip the scales a little bit. I hear they are a girl's best friend.
In his pocket or what?
Did we ever see a diamond in this movie?
Yeah, we do. Angela eventually has the diamonds like in her jacket or something. But I don't know where they were this whole time. Maybe up Malcolm's.
How much would 12? I guess it depends on the different cut and size of the diamonds. But how big of a bag would $12 million worth of diamonds take up? Like,
it was like a Crown Royal bag.
Like the size I'm assuming that probably about that size. But in reality, like if I went to my local jewelry store and got $12 million worth of diamonds.
Yeah. Do you think a local jewelry store has $12 million of diamonds in inventory at any given time?
Listen, here in Cincinnati, Genesis Diamonds is the diamond retailer that cut out the middleman, and they deal directly to you, and they have everything in stock.
Wow.
So they probably have $12 million worth of diamonds.
Are they paying you for this?
No, but they do a lot of advertising on sports radio.
Do you know what's great about Cincinnati?
What's that?
Grippos.
Oh, okay.
You thought I was going to say nothing, but aren't Grippos a Cincinnati treat?
We cover the entire Ohio gamut here on this podcast. It's very.
So Chad Cruz is a fan of Grippos. I really did think you were going to say nothing. It's kind of like the old.
I thought about it, but I didn't want to be mean.
It's kind of like the old Pat Patterson joke. You know who was talking about you last week? Nobody. Okay. Where were we? I got sidetracked, and so did John Triton, because he was sidetracked by 2 of these just backwoods. I don't know what they were doing out there. Obviously something illegal, because they were really antsy that all these police helicopters were going around, and they mistake John for a cop, which I guess is a easy thing to do. I don't know if they're doing some deliverance type plans for him or just going to kill him. I don't know what the idea here was, but it certainly slows down John Triton's progress.
It seemed like they had to put a little side quest in there. Then they felt like John Cena needed to beat somebody up.
I'm 100% in belief that that's what happened, because he hasn't really fought anyone yet, other than beating the shit out of Al Qaeda at the beginning. He's basically just been like a punching bag most of the movie, just getting his ass kicked and explosions and stuff. But yeah, the 2 backwoods dudes are like, I don't know, but former NFL players turned drug dealers or something. They're 2 pretty big dudes. And, they tied Triton up, but he does the whole gimmick where he flips with the chair does like a somersault and smashes the chair, which was actually pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, that was a nice escape.
Yeah, and then he beats the crap out of the guys. Did it blow up too? I think it blew up too.
Yeah, probably. There's a lot of things that blow up around here.
It's a very volatile world. I was thinking earlier watching the movie that how do humans even survive in this world where everything is just ready to explode like that at a moment's notice?
A lot of combustible elements.
I have that thought all the time in real life.
You should maybe talk to somebody, Chad.
Yeah, maybe you said they were football. Maybe they were gamecocks. I don't know.
It could have been.
They very well could have been. So meanwhile, while John is dealing with the two gamecocks, Rome and his guys and his ladies find that some sort of lodge type thing along the river to just kind of lay low. I don't know if they figured the cops wouldn't go double back and check there. I don't know what the story there was. And now it's almost gets into felt a little Friday the 13th at this point, because Malcolm is sent out to go check on the generator, get some power. And at this point, our hero John Triton is waiting outside, and he takes out Malcolm. Then Bennett is sent out to make sure the boat will start when they need to go, and again, he's taken out. I mean, he's going Jason Voorhees style here because these guys are splitting up.
Props to the Bennett takedown, which I thought was pretty slick, with like the choke slam through like 8 stacked pallets. I thought that was pretty nice.
That was cool. It's always fun when a wrestler can put a wrestling move into his film, and I feel like while it's not a John Cena move, it worked here.
Yeah, John Cena only had 5 moves, from what I understand.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
So Detective Van Buren now shows up, and he, at this point, John has no idea what's about to come. He thinks now, oh, good, I have somebody on my side here. I took out 2. Let's get the rest of them. This is over. I'll get my wife. We'll be done with this. So John turns the generator off. Power goes out. And this is the moment we were waiting for, Chad Cruz. Kate takes advantage of the situation.
Yes. Yeah, she goes after Angela. And it's a...
We're waiting for a Joey Styles. Thank you. There I was. Yeah.
I'm a little under the weather. That was kind of a hard move for me to make.
We now get the big revelation, though, officially, Ryan Campbell, about our good friend Detective Van Buren.
Yeah, I never trusted him.
Yeah, and unfortunately, John did for a moment, but Rome spills the beans. That's his partner, but it doesn't really matter because Van Buren isn't with us much longer. Rome, Angela, and Kate get away, and once again, something blows up, and once again, John Triton survives it.
It's crazy the amount of damage that's done with just a pistol. I don't own any firearms. I don't really know. Maybe Chad, you could probably speak to this a little bit better. He's shooting just with a handgun, and there are sparks flying everywhere in this room as if he's got like an AK and he's just spraying and praying. Like, it was crazy. He's just one guy firing off, and John Cena is running around, and there's sparks flying everywhere. The whole place catches fire.
I'd say that's certainly the more cinematic use of any type of weapon. You know, a pistol is going to do, if it's a 45, I don't know what he was shooting, but you know, it's going to do just as much damage as a larger round in that size of an area, like in a small room like that. And if it hits the right material, it could spark easily. But an explosion like that, I think old director John Bonito might have been just trying to get some more money out of this film. You know,
it was an impressive explosion.
More explosions.
Yeah, and then after John survives, there's a police boat. And John takes that police boat because why not? And he knows where they're. You know, he did overhear where they were heading, so he's involved. He knows where he's going. And meanwhile, Rome and Angela steal a truck. They handcuff Kate in the back, and we get John now, who eventually does catch up with them, and he jumps onto the truck as it's moving. And this is where things really start going crazy. He opens the passenger door, pulls Angela, who has the diamonds in her coat, and just throws her in front of a bus that's coming from the opposite direction.
I will say, when that happened, it just came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, that just really caught me off guard. And I thought I don't know. I wouldn't say it didn't fit with the rest of the movie. It just came out of nowhere. I was not expecting a death like that in the movie.
And I would say that has to be the best death in the entire
Yeah,
film.
I wonder if that was originally going to be for Kate. Kate to kick her or something.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt kind of out of place for John to do it.
I would agree. That would have been she would have had that final say. And yeah, I like your rewrite there, Chad.
But it does turn her into a murderer if that is, if Kate does it.
Well, that is also true.
Not if she says some witty line like "Your bus is here."
Oh, that'd be good.
Then it's okay.
Rome then manages to get that door closed, though he locks it. John cannot enter. So Rome now just starts driving into buildings. John's hanging on the side for the longest of times, but eventually he does just have to let go or gets knocked off, however you want to look at it. But Rome now just careening into a building which has like propane tanks and whatnot, and it just now the truck's on fire. When that happens, Rome bails out, but Kate, mind you, is still in this truck. She cannot get out. There's a bar she's handcuffed to, and that she's trying to reach forward into the front to grab the steering wheel, but it just keeps running over propane tanks and eventually out the wall and into the river.
Propane seems to be a very hot commodity in South Carolina. I don't know if I've ever seen some. Hank Hill would love to live in South Carolina.
Because he would have propane and all their propane accessories for them. He'd be making a fortune.
You do some good business there.
All right, so now we've got Kate, who's in the truck that's now submerged in the water. She's basically in a Harry Houdini scenario. And Chad, John Triton and Rome are going to finally have their final battle, but Rome, he's picking up any weapon he can find.
Oh yeah, and this is the perfect atmosphere for that because there's tools everywhere and there's chains and shit, and he grabs a lead pipe at one point, and then he goes Triple H on him, pulls a sledgehammer, and you think this is the ultimate weapon for a hand-to-hand finale, and then he grabs a chainsaw. My only problem with this, he grabs his chainsaw and it starts on the first pole. No way.
Some backwoods shed chainsaw that's covered in grease and oil. Yeah, there's no way that thing's starting.
First pole, no way.
You have to prime it and press that little bubble like 10 times and choke it.
You have to curse several times. Yeah. There's just
Well, the weapon that John Triton uses, he basically just, the whole roof collapses on top of Rome, which
is a perfect John Triton weapon to use because every room he enters explodes when he walks out.
And it just, once again, he narrowly gets out of there. It actually, I think, helps his dive because the force of the explosion just gets him to get a nice dive. He gets in, gets Kate out of the truck, and then, obviously she's in a bad shape. She's been under there for a while. Performs CPR. What did you think of his CPR technique, Chad?
He's not going deep enough for sure. You really got to, you got to push that breastplate down. You got to smash them ribs. It's not a pleasant thing. You got to get in there deep.
Well, and you would think after being in the Marines for so long and not seeing his wife, he would have no problem going deep.
Ooh, nice.
That's right, I can get spicy too.
Yeah, I'm sure he did that afterwards.
That's inappropriate, Ryan Campbell. All right.
Too much.
You went too far. This is a classy podcast. And here's another spoiler alert. She lives. And happily ever after, I guess, from this point on, because despite the fact that there were several more Marine movies, John Cena was in none of them.
Good for him.
And it's kind of weird that his career took like a long hiatus acting wise. I mean, he didn't do a ton of, I guess he did 12 rounds, which was after this.
12 rounds, yeah.
But then it was like, I don't know, a while, and he went back to wrestling for a long time, and now he's like a pretty big star again with he's done a few big movies, and of course Fast and Furious, which it should have came out like 5 years ago, but keeps getting delayed and everything. It's kind of weird. He took this big break, I guess, to go back to wrestling for a while before his career really took off.
Yeah, was it just so he could have that feud with The Rock and say, Rock, quit worrying about movies? And I don't know what that was.
It could be. What's funny is because The Rock's career was kind of similar. He had Scorpion King, and then he did the Scorpion King film, which was a turd.
Right.
And he didn't blow up at all, like at the beginning. You know what I mean? He had a couple films that were fun to watch.
Right.
What was the one with Sean William Scott?
Rundown, and then the
Rundown was
Walking Tall
fun.
remake was all right.
Yeah. So if you think about like the first 5 years of his movie career, you know, The Mummy 2 was a bigger hit than The Marine, of course, but it led to The Scorpion King, which was a turd. And he just kind of like sizzled there for a while before he finally caught fire.
And yeah, like then he went down the Disney path for a little while there, was making those family-friendly movies. Obviously, that had to be some sort of management decision, or somebody was advising him to maybe step away to.
I think it's a selling your soul to the devil situation.
Yeah,
it is interesting to think the completely side topic of what was the film that The Rock kind of officially became like the biggest star in Hollywood, or when he went from kind of, you know, a wrestler that does acting to, okay, this guy's bankable, you know, Hollywood star. I have no idea. I'm just trying to go through here about when was that moment when he kind of
flipped. Like when they already said like he was when they added him to Fast and Furious.
I would say even before.
Yeah,
then,
it had to be before that, because when they added him, it was like he was there to fix or revitalize the franchise. So obviously,
it's kind of underrated, but I feel like Gridiron Gang may have been it, because it was one where like, because that was like after Doom, which was kind of a drop, and that was like one of the first movies where he didn't do any like acting or like action stuff. He didn't beat anybody up. He just got to like act and talk and stuff. So maybe that, I don't know. And then shortly after that, it was like The Game Plan, Get Smart, Race to Witch Mountain, which was another Disney film. Yeah, I'm not really sure when it just kind of flipped.
I'm not sure he's that bankable, to be honest with
now?
you. I mean, for every big film he does, I mean, all these big films that he's in, they're either a superhero movie or an established franchise with 9 films under them. I mean, yes, he's on TV constantly. He's got 1,000 different avenues of income coming in. But I mean,
yeah, but we're talking movies like
Skyscraper and like he's still making movies that aren't making money. Hercules was a flop.
Yeah, but I don't know. They're making more money than what they have any business making though. Like San Andreas, Rampage, they actually like made a little bit of money that
In China.
that probably anybody else in that role wouldn't have done anything in.
I mean, he was in G.I. Joe Retaliation, Empire State, Pain and Gain was big, of course, Fast and Furious. Hercules was a flop. San Andreas it may have made money, but it's not like it blew up. Jim and the Holograms, never even heard of it. I don't know. Baywatch was a flop. Yeah, Jumanji, but that goes back to the history of that. Maybe not as a franchise, but as a...
Yeah, no one was asking for a Jumanji reboot, though, when that movie came out.
What? That's true. But it was also an ensemble cast. I don't know. I love The Rock, as much as anybody, but I don't know. I just
can't point to that other than maybe Fast 5, but like, when was the moment when he stopped being like... Yeah, I don't know. When did he become like the Rock, actor Rock?
That's the problem with them using financial success of your film to like judge who the top actor is. Because I think if you put The Rock as the lead in a bunch of different movies, they may or may not be successful, but he's been in so many big movies that made tons of money. It's like Batista, right? He's like all his films make tons of money, but all his films are freaking Marvel movies.
Right. Yeah. Or James Bond.
Or half of his films are. Or James Bond. Yeah. I mean, if you put me in a James Bond movie, it would still make a ton of money.
Maybe.
Despite me. In spite of me.
All right. Well, the march to WrestleMania. We have wrapped it up officially here on the Bulletproof podcast. Again, thank you for listening, everyone. And thank you for subscribing. As we said at the top, we now have hundreds of subscribers. And if you are not one of them, join your fellow action fanatics and you'll know exactly when new episodes of this show drop. And you know what? As we also would love to hear from you. So check us out on social media, Bulletproof Pod at Twitter and or on Twitter, and at Bulletproof Action on Instagram and Facebook. Chad Cruz, the warm weather is here. It's t-shirt season.
It is officially t-shirt season, or for big fat guys, it's year-round t-shirt season. T-shirt shorts and flip-flop season year-round for fat guys. But we've got some amazing t-shirts, Bulletproof Podcast t-shirts, help support the show and help support the podcast that brings you this amazing, wonderful content every 2 weeks. Check us out. Go to the Bulletproof Action webpage. Look at the top. There's a little tab that says Bulletproof Shop, and start spending money. I mean, you got that STEMI check in. Why not spend it?
Got your Biden
on
bucks.
A rad t-shirt. Hell yeah, dude. Get that Biden bucks. Buy a rad t-shirt.
That's right.
Turn this off now and go buy a t-shirt.
All right. Well, I think with that said, we are out of time.
They're already gone.
So Ryan Campbell, thank you. Chad Cruz, thank you. And thank you all for listening to the Bulletproof Podcast. And as always, stay tuned for more.